So we'll leave the LL flying to the LL. We're on the for those who just walked in, Chav Gimel Lamed Bet, and it's 12 lines before the end of the short lines. So it's if you're looking in the art scroll, it's probably in the middle of a sugya. If you're looking in the Sansino, it's probably in the middle of a sugya. But it's really, the last thing we had done was we did a comparison between which is more important, Ner Chanukah, Ner Shabbos, Ner Shabbos, and Shalom Bayis. We ended up saying that Ner Chanukah is going to be more important than Kiddush, because Ner Chanukah is Persumi Nisa. Did I get that last one correctly? Kiddush is important because it's Tadir, and then we said no, remember Ner Chanukah is more important because Persumi Nisa, and we said Persumi Nisa trumps. And then we had a tosos about what if you can do both, like Kriyas Torah and Kriyas Torah or something. And then we had a couple of pieces of Agadita really about a person who lights a lot of candles. Shabbos, careful about candles. Shabbos candles, Chanukah candles. We'll have Talmidei Chachamim. We had two stories back to back. And now we got one more story about lighting Shabbos candles. And that's where it begins here. Devisud Rav Yosef Havas, the wife of Rav Yosef. And the last one on the line is Havas. The first word on that line is Minayu, if you all can find it. So this is the last story in the slew of stories. Devisud Rav Yosef Havas Macheres Madlekes. She would wait to the last minute and she would light the candles for Shabbos. Now, this does not mean as you think it means Macheres, that she waited till it was too late. The Rishonim say it means that she just didn't light earlier. So it must mean that she must have lit like in what we call the emergency time, right? After Hadlakas and Eros, but still within the actual before Shkia. You say, how could she know? Well, you want to know something? But they could see the sun set.
Yeah, sure.
They didn't have high-rise buildings in the way.
No, of course. Come on.
So you can see where the sun actually sets, right? Okay. At any rate, so she would wait till that last minute, and you would think that someone like the wife of Rav Yosef would actually want to do things earlier. You'll see what happens in a minute. So Macheres Madlekes. So Rav Yosef, her husband, said to her, Tanya, it says, Lo yamush amuda ohel, Lo yamush amud hel non yomam ve'amud eish laila. This talks about when Bnei Yisrael left Mitzrayim and they were coming to the Yam Suf, so they had the cloud that led them in the day, and the amud eish, the fiery pillar which led them at night. So it says they were not left without them. Lo yomish, they were not abandoned by the amud anon in the day and amud eish at night. Malamish amud anon mashlim le'amud ha'eish ve'amud ha'eish mashlim le'amud ha'anon. It means that each one would come before the other one left, right? So they would overlap. It's like
never a gap.
There was never a gap. I remember when we were kids in New York and the walk signs. Remember before they had pictures? I don't hear they must have picture people all the time in the States. They used to have actually walk and no walk. So it used to be walk no walk, walk no walk. The red would blank over the white. So we always with kids would say walk no walk, walk no walk, walk no walk. So you always overlapped one on the other. You knew to stop walking before the no walk sign came. Bottom line was there obviously was a period of overlap between the two. Ergo, if you're looking at Hadlakas Neiros, almost the analogy, I guess, if you were to draw this all the way to the nth degree, is Hadlakas Neiros is like the Amud Eish, or at least before Shabbos starts, you ought to pre-do your Hadlakas Neiros to make sure that it overlaps while it's still Vachadik. Once again, it doesn't mean that she did it while it's Shabbos, but it looked like she tried to just gauge at the very last minute.
Did she light specifically because of the fact that he couldn't see?
I don't think so. That's a good question. I don't know.
Rabbi Yosef was blind.
Yes, he was. It's a good question. Okay. It looks like she felt the idea of Tosefah Shabbos did not apply to Shabbos candles. In other words, I don't think she's really arguing about the idea that you can add to Shabbos, but she felt that Hadlakas Neiros was meant to be there. Or, it's possible, I'd like to suggest another svara, she wanted to light Hadlakas Neiros when it was clear what the mitzvah was. Like if you light candles when it's still light, it's not clear what the actual mitzvah is. Now we do make a bracha, right? Yeah. So you clearly see what the bracha is, but you're lighting Shabbos candles to make a difference. I'll talk about that in a moment when I finish the story, because it has an implication for today. Okay, so So what did she do? So when she realized that she had gone too far the other end, so consequently she wanted to do it earlier. Rashi says Biot Hayom Gadol, while it still was daytime. Does not mean before Plaga Mincha. that would be too early to make Shabbos candles. But Plaga Mincha is actually in the summertime, as you know, is about an hour and a half before Shabbos, right? And so it means that she wanted to light sometime after Plaga Mincha. You've all done early Shabbos here, one form or another. They print the time, usually what Plaga Mincha is. So and one of the tricks that I've learned on times that I've been here, my wife has been away a few times, and I like to light candles if I go to shul. And I like to go to the early minyan. I find I really can't light Shabbos candles because the early minyan of Mincha many times starts before Plaga Mincha.
So what do you do?
So what do I do? So either I didn't light candles, or because I was eating out anyway, and I didn't think I'd be using them, or I go to late minyan.
Oh,
okay. Can you light out tonight?
Yeah, you can light out.
I guess I could light out tonight.
Like with a larger amount of oil.
I guess I could light out tonight.
Like a longer, bigger candle, a larger amount of oil.
I guess you can light out tonight. I know that. You can do it and say, I'm not being makabel till later. Maybe. Could be. Not sure it works with the bracha. I'm not sure you can make a bracha when it's not with the time for the mitzvah. But possibly.
Okay.
She started moving earlier.
So she made it earlier. In other words, like say an hour before Shabbos. There's nothing really halachic wrong. So who's Sabbat Tanina? And then this old Talmud Chacham came and said to him, Ubavad shelo yakdim v'lo yacher, that you shouldn't light it too early. And Rashi says, and here's the key line, Gelo minkra shi Shabbos. If you make it too early, it won't be clear that you're lighting candles for Shabbos. Now, by the way, you have to remember the lighting candles was a very common thing to do.
Yes.
Right,
Every night people would light candles.
Right, I was reading that the minhag to light Ner Shabbos, the real mitzvah is to light one Shabbos candle. So where did the mitzvah come from to light two Shabbos candles? Why two? I mean, I know there's two plus that every child is born. There's another one or not. But why? Why not one? So I forgot which one of the Rishonim suggests that this was to show that, first of all, it might be Shomer v'Zochar, a lot of other reasons, but the other reason that makes a lot of sense is everybody lit a candle at night. If you lit one candle at night, it wasn't clear that you're lighting a mitzvah for Shabbos candles. You lit one because you always lit a candle. The second there was meant to show that you're going out of your way to do the mitzvah of halacha-theory. Not you make the bracha, but people will see that this is Shabbos candles going on. So that's actually one of the reasons why the minhag is for at least minimally two candles. Okay, you can keep maxing out and make more and more and more. But that makes a lot of sense. So this is, she was told not to do it too early because it would not be noticeable that she was doing it for the mitzvah hadlakas neiros, which really brings us to the way we light Shabbos candles today. And this is actually very much applicable to halacha. When we light Shabbos candles, what do we usually do? You have the lights on in the living room or dining room, and then you the wife lights candles. Yeah. How much light is it really adding? Minimally, okay? Very, very little.
Some people turn the lights off.
So some people turn the lights off. Some people turn the lights.
Put the timer. You mean?
No, they turn off. They turn off the electric lights. They turn off the electric lights.
They can't turn it back on.
That's correct. No, they make before the bracha.
What?
You light candles. The candle's lit before the bracha anyway.
Right. Yeah. And then
so this is they turn off all the lights in that room.
Yeah.
And then they put the switch on. They put the candles on to make the bracha for everything. All the lights in there. So even the lighting of the chandelier or ceiling lights, whatever they are, really
turn everything on.
Right. Is really being minkra that you actually the light that's coming is the light of Ner Shabbos.
I see.
So that's the concept. So in other words, for us, right. Or you just flip it off and on the same way sometimes people light the wicks to make sure they light and blow them out and relight them for the Shabbos candle.
That's so the men have a share in the mitzvah.
Okay, but if there's no man, the people does it. A woman can do it as well. I know they like to give it to the men.
But the men have to have a share, so how can they do it except by doing that?
Maybe. Okay. You make your wife your shul
had that last.
I know.
This is a Hungarian minhag.
I know it's a Hungarian minhag. It's a very nice minhag, but it's not the real minhag. Is not that you need a share. The real minhag is maybe it is to give you a share. Okay, maybe, like you take out the garbage.
The candles, that's your share.
Right.
Right, but the Hungarian approach is you light and then you blow them out.
I've actually told my wife that I won't do this because she buys the round ones that have the long wicks that could sit in the glass holders. So when you light those, when you light the wick and the wick goes down, it makes it much harder. You don't get really a second chance because the wick burns all the way down. So I make sure I put them in. I said, so I put them in. I'm the one who puts them in. I put them in and I make sure the wick sticks up high.
In the Kitzur Shulchan Aruch it says to light them and blow them out.
Right.
Then what? So
And then the wick, here's what you've done. You've actually ensured that the wick will catch the flame the next time you light it.
how does that help
Easier,
you
it's
share? You're talking about the
So
man?
You're preparing
the
it for life.
minhag according to the Kitzur
Yeah.
is that you not only fill up the things with oil, but you actually light them and blow them
Your
out.
wife lights them. Let's say
No,
you
the
light
man.
them.
You prime them. You prime them
you
to
blow
make
them, then your wife lights them.
right.
Correct.
You prime them that they will light. Okay.
Make the candles.
Okay.
My meaning is we make the candles. The man makes the candles.
You actually
So-
good thinking.
There you go.
Good joke.
So,
Could
but
be, you know.
the bottom line is, what we do is we light Shabbos candles. It's supposed to actually be the mitzvah to bring light into the house. And the truth is, what we do with our Shabbos candles is minimal light. Back in the day, when they lit 1 or 2 candles around the house, this Shabbos candle actually lit. If you lit 2 candles in place of 1, you really understand that's doubling the amount of candle power that they had, right? And things were much different. You also understand why it was a much more important halacha not to read by candlelight. Right, because shemayata, you may lean it over. This, by the way, will come up in the next piece of Gemara. You may come to adjust the candle to make sure it doesn't. Then you'll be over an avera of havara because it'll go quicker, or kibbutz will go out or something. Because if you have only 1 or 2 candles, you're really using the candlelight power. It's like trying to read by flashlight during a blackout, right? So there's actually a discussion among the Rishonim. Should you do hadlakas neros for Shabbos in all the rooms? Right? Should all the rooms be lit up? Not necessarily bedroom, but the rooms that are used in the house. Now, you say, well, where did this come from? It came from the fact that initially the houses were 1-room houses. Right. So when you lit 1 Shabbos candle on the table, you were lighting the entire house up. Okay, but the question is this a concept? It's really an idea of shalom bayis. Should there be a chi of hadlaka that applies to all the different rooms as well? Most poskim say no. Okay, but if I guess it was room that you use, so we for us it's not really an issue because we have electric lights that are going to be there in the house. So I guess the question would be, if you're going to turn off the electricity and turn off the electric switch and then relight the electric switch when you light the candle, should you do that for all the rooms in the house? I don't know of anyone who's really that machmir who does something like that, but you could argue, I suppose, on it could be working. Okay, anyways, but the real din, of course, for hadlakas neros is that there should be candles when there is a plate where you're going to eat. To eat in the dark is not considered oneg, it's not considered simcha, not exactly simcha and Shabbos, but it's a celebratory, happy kind of nature. So, and I think I've pointed out, if you actually, every all the lights go out and you have no lights, you really can't have Suda Shabbos there. Take your food and go somewhere else. That's really the halacha l'maisa. So at any rate, she was careful to light it, and she lit too early, and therefore they said that you should make sure to light it. So the truth is, if you light it l'shem Shabbos, and it's clearly it's nikar that you're lighting for Shabbos, even if it's not going to give all the light, l'maisa, you're really doing the mitzvah. I don't want you to go home and change around your whole house on our account, but the truth is, it's clear that when you're lighting the Shabbos candles on the candelabra, it is for Shabbos candles, because you see it's a special candelabra. No one would ever mistake what it's for, and the truth is, you sit around the table or it's on the sidebar, whatever it is, it does give some additional light.
I guess you have to have enough to go into Shabbos. You have to have enough to burn into after tomorrow.
Yeah, you have to have enough that should burn while you're sitting to eat.
Yeah.
Correct. Right. Of course, if you actually were to turn off the electric switch and then light put on the electric switch,
if the power went out, then you'd have the candles.
Right. I was saying something else. If the candles went out and you did the electric lights as well for the Shem Shabbos, then you can sit all night. Right. Correct.
Okay.
True. Okay, but it's really it can be a situation if you have a power outage, you have no lights in the house, right, and you have short Shabbos candles. Okay, so that's the piece there. This is kind of the adjunct or the epilogue, somewhat to the part about Hanukkah. We're going to come back to Hanukkah, but the Gemara throws in a piece here, I guess we have 2 more lines here. Amar Rava, Derachim Rabbanan Have Banin Rabbanan. There's 1, 2, 3, 4 more lines. There's an epilogue to this. The Rava says a person who is kind and has Rachmanis, who is an Ohev of the Chachamim, he will have sons who are going to be Chachamim. Demokir Rabbanan Have Alechas Nusa Rabbanan, as a machlokas negersos, where the mokir means to actually give kavod, whether you're going to be give kavod to the Rabbanan, you'll have son-in-laws who'll be chachamim. And the next one is the dachil. Dachil means, I think, also to care. What does dachil mean? Fear. Couldn't read my notes. The dachil means you fear Rabbanan, then who gufe have a Rabbanan, tzur Rabbanan, you'll be a scholar. So there's machlokas negirsa, which one is really fear, which one is giving honor to Rabbanan, whether you have son-in-laws, or is giving honor to Rabbanan, you'll be a Rabbanan, or fearing the Rabbanan, you'll have son-in-laws who are chachamim, or fearing the chachamim, you'll become a Talmud chacham. These are all ideas that if you're going to,
I send this to my son-in-laws, let's see what they say about this.
Well, they'll tell you got the wrong nusach. But you see, the Gra flips them around. The Gra says that's why Mokir, you should fear your son-in-laws. You should fear the chachamim. It's not about the son-in-laws. The question is like, do you fear the chachamim, or do you give honor to the chachamim? Then you'll have son-in-laws. The son-in-laws don't have to fear you. That if they fear you and you're a Talmud chacham, that could be an issue. But now.
So what's he saying after? Sorry.
So this the first one I'll read again. So I'll read our nusach. The Mokir, if you give honor to the chachamim, you will have son-in-laws who are chachamim. If you fear the dacham or rabbanan, if you fear the chachamim, then you will become one of the chachamim. Okay, so the question is, do you flip those around, fear and honor? And now, what happens if it doesn't work? Vilav barhachi, and if you're not able to be a Talmud Chacham, in other words, you're not able, Rashi says, interestingly enough, she'eino ragil asak b'torah, you're not used to sitting and studying Torah all day. It takes a certain amount of mindset and a certain type of personality to be able to sit and learn and study, become a Talmud Chacham. Not everybody who can go to a shir is going to be the scholar of the generation. So if you're not that kind of person that can crank the bench, as we would say, means that people will listen to you like you're a scholar. So you will be, in other words, your words will be respected. That people will listen to what you have to say. Okay, so all of these, yeah. Sitzfleisch. Sitzfleisch of what's crunk in the bench. Okay, can you sit that long? Steig, sitzfleisch, yes. So doesn't mean that everybody has to be a Talmud Chacham. Just means that if you do this, it looks like you be Talmud Chacham. If not, you can't be Talmud Chacham. Then you'll be a great businessman, but also people will listen to you, give you respect. Okay, now next piece of Gemara. So here's what you need to know about the next piece of Gemara. We're going to leave Hanukkah for about 7, 8, 10 lines. Go back to the Mishnah, okay? Go back to the Mishnah on the beginning of the second parak. I think it's Daf Chaf, is it? Daf Chaf Mud Beis. Because you forgot what the Mishnah is. The Mishnah is Masechet Shabbos. And the Mishnah, which you saw Parsei Friday night, so we're not going to translate everything, is a listing of all the different types of wicks that you can and cannot use, and all the different types of oils that you can and cannot use. So, Bameh Madlik and Bameh Madlikin, right? You probably can know what's going on. You don't know what's going on because you simply say it Friday night without translating it. So you've got all the, you can use Lechesh and Chosen and Kalach and Psila Sa'ida and Psila Samidba, Rokosh Apnei Amayim. You can use all these types of vegetables and growths for wicks or types of items. So the first list of the first 4 lines of the Mishnah is really different types of wicks, and then it eliminates or tells you which kinds of oils you can use. V'lo b'zefet, v'lo b'shaiva, v'lo b'shemen cake, v'lo b'shemen-sreifa. You can use all these different kinds of oils, and including not shemen-sreifa. What shemen-sreifa? Oil that has to be burnt. Why are you burning oil? Obviously you're burning oil. You're putting in the fire. So that's the Gemara is going to talk about what shemen-sreifa is, but that's where it's coming from. And the next one is going v'lo alya v'lo b'chelev, and you can't use alya as the oxtail, or which tail is the oxtail? The sheep tail. Sheep tail.
Fat tail.
The fat tail. Sheep fat tail, and chelev is also the different chelevs in the prohibited fats in the animal. And Nachum Amade Omer Madlikim b'chelev mevushal. You can use chelev mevushal. You can use cooked and rendered fats. V'chachamim omim echad mevushal v'chashen mevushal and madlikim. The chachamim say that you can use
chelev altogether.
Chelev, not cooked, not uncooked. Now, one of the things we will talk about, and I don't think we're going to get to it today because it's right before the next Mishnah, is the Gemara is going to discuss. There are 3 opinions here at the end of the Mishnah about chelev. One is you can't use alyu and chelev. Nachum Amade says you can use chelev mevushal. And the Chachamim say you can't use chelev, not mevushal nor not mevushal, neither mevushal nor non-mevushal. So the third opinion or first opinion look to be the same.
What did they use challah for in general? Probably as a grease or something.
For cooking.
For cooking. For cooking.
French fries.
Well, you can eat.
French fries. That's McDonald's.
In place of margarine.
I'm saying so you could eat
They-
challah.
Oil.
Yeah, sure. It's fat. It's fat.
What I read was the
Cooking oil.
the
Cooking
fat
oil.
of the tail, because it's outside the animal, the melting point is lower or something, so it's less. It's more like oily as compared to fat inside, which is more like fatty.
Right. So it doesn't burn well.
No, it doesn't. It's so it's for eating. It's better. It's not like you're eating schmaltz. It's a little. It's like lower. Yeah.
So what?
No, just explain.
Okay, so
Look
what comes out of this mission is there are two listings. One listing is which wicks you can't use. The second listing is which oils you can't use. Excuse me. In the listing of oils you can't use, we're going to focus on two things: shemoneh-esrei, and at the very end of the Gemara before the Mishnah, which is not for today, we're going to come and talk about aliyah and chaylev. What exactly is the machloket between the three opinions? First opinion and third opinion seem to be the same, and the second opinion says it's okay if it's cooked. First and third opinion seem to say it's not okay. So what's shemoneh-esrei? Now, to kind of just to give you the full picture of this, I want you to take a look at the next Mishnah, on Mishnah on Chaf Daled Amud Bet, because we just showed you what shemoneh-esrei was. Okay, before I look at the Mishnah on Chaf Daled, people are looking already. Good for you. That's okay. It's okay. So the first Mishnah we just read on the Chaf Amud Bet was about not lighting on which day Yom Tov or Shabbos. When you say B'mem Madlikin, when do you say on Friday night? So it said B'mem Madlikin, V'moy Madlikin, and it's called Masechet Shabbos, on Shabbos. So you can't use shemoneh-esrei on Shabbos, Friday night for Shabbos candles. On the Mishnah on Daf Chaf Daled Amud Bet, right? The next Mishnah, which says Ein Madlikin v'shemoneh-esrei b'Yom Tov. Okay, so it talks about not lighting shemoneh-esrei on Yom Tov. So we're going to see what the connection is between not using shemoneh-esrei on Shabbos and not using shemoneh-esrei on Yom Tov. Okay, first we have to know what is shemoneh-esrei.
Right.
Okay, let's take a look at the Gemara. So we are on, let me get back to the right page, Chaf Gimel Amud Bet, and it's the very last short line. V'lo b'shemoneh-esrei, my shemoneh-esrei. What is this shemoneh-esrei that's identified? It's not clear what it means. I mean, every other item you can look up what the item is. So my shemoneh-esrei Amar Rabba, and this is what we say it means. Shemen shel truma shenitma. This is oil of truma that became pasul, or became tameh, and oil of truma that became tameh can't be eaten, can't be consumed. What do you have to do with it? You burn it. You destroy it. You destroy it. So the Mishnah tells us that you can't use this to burn on. You can't use it for the oil for Friday night. Okay, why not? That's Gemara going to ask the question. Well, I didn't say you can't get enough.
Oh, okay. I thought it was because it had to be burnt.
You can't eat it. Okay.
Oh, okay.
So why can't you use it Friday night? So you've already seen there's two Mishnahs. One is a Mishnah about Friday night. One is a Mishnah about Yom Tov night. Let's take one at a time. So the Gemara is going to present some ideas why you can't use it Friday night. So that's clearly what shemoneh-esrei is. Shemen shel truma shenitma. V'may korle shemoneh-esrei. Why is it called shemoneh-esrei? Hoel u'esrei made. It's standing to be burned. So it's called burning oil to be burned, burning type oil, which you're going to consume and find a way to consume it. And therefore, it sounds as good a place as any. Whether I throw it in the furnace, I put it in the kerosene lamp, I put it on my gas tank. Well, probably not. Or I put it in the Shabbos candles. It sounds like good. So why can't I use it for Shabbos? So says the Gemara. This is once again 6 lines at the bottom, 7 lines at the bottom of Shabbos. My time below. Why can't I use it Shabbos night? Mitoch shemitzvah lav lavaro. So because on my mitzvah is to burn it completely, I'm supposed to completely eradicate this oil. So gzeira shemayata. I'm concerned that if it doesn't burn correctly on Shabbos night, what may I come to do? I may come to adjust the wick to make sure that it burns. Because I don't want to have any of this left over. Because if I have anything left over in the morning, maybe after Shabbos I'll use it. I'll forget it with shemoneh-esrei. So therefore,
that's an issue of using something from Shabbos.
So it's an issue of adjusting the wick. It's not using it. No, it's an issue of adjusting the wick, which would be an issur min Torah of havara. Right. If I adjust the wick on Shabbos and I cause the fire to become greater or smaller, that's actually a biblical transgression. One of the 39 malachas of havara. The one malacha that's actually mentioned in the Torah directly. Lo sevaru ish b'chol moshvosechem yom haShabbos.
Big no.
It's a big no-no. So therefore, and that's the same reason why I can't read by a candlelight right? I can read by electric light. It's not that common. I may adjust it, but a candle may need to be adjusted to make a bigger flame, a smaller frame. It's going to sputter out. And if you realize you're reading in a one candle house or a two candle house, that's actually important. So you may come to do it. And we had the Gemara in Daf Hey, or in the first parak, if you remember, where someone did it. I think it was Rabbi Yossi. Someone remind me. Either he almost did it or he did it, and he said, "I'm going to bring a korban chatas when I have a big fat animal to the base of Mikdash."
But this one, you're saying, Rabbi, that applies to any oil that wouldn't burn normally. But this sounds like
no,
because of the truma part. No.
Right, it would apply. It would apply.
The wick,
correct.
Would flicker.
So, in fact, all the other oils are oils that will not burn properly, and all the other wicks are wicks that will not burn properly. That's why they cannot be used on Shabbos night.
And we're saying this just.
But shemoneh-esrei is a catch-all for any type of oil.
Right.
Even you have great super A1,
right.
great virgin, super virgin, extra virgin olive oil that became truma tmeya, and it's super oil. It's not going to. But nonetheless, you have to burn it because the mitzvah of what you have to do with truma tmeya is to burn it completely.
Right.
So if you use it Friday night and it begins to flicker or whatever, you may come to adjust the wick. So it's.
I know why I'm lost, because if it's a perfect oil that you could normally use for Shabbos, that's what we're saying. It's a perfect oil.
But
it's not going to flicker. That's why it's allowed normally for Shabbos.
Correct, but because there's a special directive to burn the shemoneh-esrei completely, I want to make sure that I consume every single drop in this bucket or this bowl where the shemoneh-esrei is now burning on my lachter. It
doesn't normally flicker because we're so
concerned with burning. Correct. So that's why. So this would apply to any species of oil, regardless of whether it's a good oil or a bad oil. If it's shemoneh-esrei says, who says this? Actually, it looks like Rabbi is saying this, right? With my time alone, we talk shemitzvah love lavaro gzeh. I may come to move it because I'm supposed to.
It's all burnt.
Right, and therefore I come to use it because I don't want to come to eat it, let what's left over, and therefore I'll turn it to make sure it burns better and brighter and quicker and so forth. So Amalei Abaye. So Abaye says to Rava. This was Rava, not Rava. So Abaye says to Rava. If that's the case, if the problem of using shemoneh-esrei on Friday night is really about that I may come to turn the wick and make the wick bigger and less bigger, so b'yomtov lishtri, it should be permissible to burn shemoneh-esrei on Yontif. Yontif is no problem, right? Alama, however, it's not. We learned, this is the mission you just saw on Daf Chav Dalet, Alama ein madlikim b'shemoneh-esrei b'yomtov. So it says I can't use shemoneh-esrei on Yontif either. So you gave me a reason for Shabbos, which is a specific Shabbos reason I may come to adjust the wick to which will be an Isser of Havara. Yontif, I'm specifically allowed to do Havara. Right. If it serves my purpose, I can make the fire bigger and smaller. We do this every Yontif on the gas or whatever it is, higher and lower. So what would be the problem? So the Gemara says Gzeira Yontif atu Shabbos. So the Gemara gives a very funny answer. It says, well, really, there's no problem with Yontif. But if I let you do it on Yontif, you may come to do it on Shabbos.
A lot of stuff. We do a lot of stuff.
We do a lot of stuff on Yontif.
No, we do a lot of stuff where we keep it the same, even though it doesn't have to be the same.
Of course, I'm saying what.
No, we do a lot of stuff where.
No, but you cook Yontif.
So it's a very difficult answer.
Yes.
Because it seems to be like somewhat far-fetched. A lot of things we do on Yontif we don't do on Shabbos.
Exactly.
And in fact, Tosfos says if this is the case, well, every oil that you can use on Shabbos, you shouldn't be able to use on Yontif as well. We don't have strictures on Yontif that we have on Shabbos. You can't use this oil and that oil because it may flicker. Because if it flickers, so you'll adjust it. So Tosfos actually says, well, the oils you won't come to use on Shabbos because they'll go out. This oil is, we kind of hinted at this before, this oil is actually grade 1 oil. Right. It's not going to go out. Right. So you may come to be concerned. So you're not concerned it's going to go out. So if I let you use it on Yontif night, you may come to confuse it with Friday night. But it's not the best answer. No. It seems that it's only a Gzeira d'Rabbanan at best. It seems it's only an issue, a concern that I may come to adjust. Now, admittedly, adjusting it is an Issur min Torah. This looks like rabbinically, there's a prohibition just in case I shouldn't do something else. So the Gemara is going to suggest another answer. Answer 2. So
we do this on other things also. We do this like I think going to the mikveh when someone's a ger. We say the bracha before. I can't remember because we to make it the same as other times going to the mikveh? We do it on other things. We just keep it the same. I believe.
Sometimes, I'm not sure about ger, but sometimes we do this things.
Not so far fetched. We do it on other things.
So
for consistency.
So what Archie's saying is he likes the answer. Okay.
It's an answer. It's as good as any other.
The Gemara doesn't throw it out. The Gemara doesn't throw it out, but the Gemara does offer different choices.
Okay.
So it is an answer. You could stay with the answer. It's clearly not. It does not appear to be the best answer.
No, I know.
Okay. So the Gemara gives a second answer, which may not be much better. Okay. So we're going to we'll come to, of course, to another answer. So the Gemara says as follows: Rav Chisda Amar. I'm really not concerned about that I'm going to turn this oil, this wick, because as we pointed out, why would I think that I would need to turn the wick? I'm using a good oil. I'm not using this inferior type of species of oil or wick. Elahacha, the case I'm talking about is b'yontav shechal lios b'Shabbos askinan. B'yontav shechal lios b'erev Shabbos askinan. Now let me explain to you what the halacha is. Okay, so we have to kind of give away the story a little bit on Chavtal Ramad Bet, but I'm not going to give away too much because we're going to be there soon enough. The Gemara discusses on Chavtal Ramad Bet why can I not use shemoneh-esrei for? The real reason for not using shemoneh-esrei for on Yontif night. What's the real reason? Why can't I burn truma tmeya on Yontif? So the Gemara says because there's a rule shein sorfen kachim b'yom tov. You cannot burn kachim on Yontif. You can't burn kachim that I don't need not to eat. You can, of course, they're kachim they're brought.
But it's not kosher anymore, right? It's tamei.
Well, it's kachim that became tamei.
So it's not kosher anymore.
But it's kachim that became tamei that I therefore can't burn it. So any kachim that I have to burn, or any part of kachim that are burned, are not going to be burnt on Yontif night. Why is that? So the Gemara is going to have a long discussion and learn it from psukim.
Oh, that we can't.
Now, once I say psukim, you know there's nothing you can argue about. Okay. So it's going to learn from some psukim that finds a scriptural basis why it's a rule not only for truma tmeya, but for all kinds of kachim I can't burn them on Yontif. Okay, so this is a specific Yontif law, and a specific cut does not apply to Shabbos. Fascinating.
Like it doesn't, because one would think that if you can't do it on
Yontif, Kavachom you should do in Shabbos. No, it's a specific Yontif law because it's going to go to Psukim. Right, so this is not Ochel Nefesh.
Right. Which means that the rule should be the same.
Right, but
Shabbos and Yom Tov.
So, but you could argue here that Truma Tmeya is serving a purpose. The purpose is Shabbos candles. Okay, so let me take you the example here. Okay, why don't we give the whole example, then you can see. I mean, this is the Gemara is clear that when Yontif night, you'll right. Once again we'll get to it. It's learned out from Psukim that you can't burn kachim on Yontif night.
Right.
Okay, so all the things that they needed to burn looks like they didn't burn them on the night of whether I'm not sure hektar ivarim chalavim. Looks like they did not burn them on the night of Yontif. The Gemara will learn Psukim for that because it sounds like a very strange halacha. That is strictly a Yontif halacha. Okay, please accept this from me at this point.
I accept it.
Okay. Now, the second rule is, so why then would this apply to Shabbos? So the Gemara says, well, it's really, this is what Rav Chisda is going to say, hold on to your seats, because you may not like this any more than you liked Rava, is that with the case we're talking about is Yontif that comes out on Erev Shabbos. Okay, when Yontif comes out on Erev Shabbos, okay, when do you light the Shabbos candles?
When it's still Yontif.
When it's still Yontif. When it's still Yontif. There's no way to light the neiros of Shabbos except on Yontif. Right? Yontif is Friday. Before it turns into Shabbos, you're going to light the Shabbos candles before. You're going to light the Shabbos candles before any Shabbos. Right? Yontif candles you actually can light on the night on Yontif after it gets dark. Right? You can light Yontif candles after it gets dark. You do it the second night of Yontif. Right, because if you have a flame, you can light from the flame to light the Yontif candles.
On Friday night, the second day.
So this is not about Eretz Yisrael. Yontif is on Friday, and Friday night is Shabbos.
Right.
But I'm talking about the second night of Yontif. Does that ever occur Friday night?
Sure. Yes.
For us?
Yes. 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 Yes, for sure. Yes. Yes, and it also occurs that you have 3-day Yontif: Thursday, Friday, Shabbos.
Shabbos is,
right. So we have all kinds of variations. Yes.
Like
so
next year.
Correct. So therefore, it does occur, and more importantly, whenever it does occur, whereas normally Yontif you would light You would light Yontif, you can light after it gets dark. In fact, there's a whole discussion whether you should do, because you see the wife of Rabbi Yosef lit candles last minute. Maybe if it was Yontif, she should really light the last minute. Okay, and there's a discussion. I think the wife of the Sma, I think, used to tell people they should light early on Yontif. They shouldn't wait till it's too late. It's because it's
Isn't this one of the things that's covered by the Erev Tavshila?
to do from Erev Yom one day to the next.
Yeah,
Yes,
Lighting a
like halacha-theory.
Right, yeah.
Right. But that's not really meant about the Shabbos candles. It's meant about lighting lights for fuel. Lavashala, latmana, ladlaka-shraga. It's really about
But
light.
you do have a theoretical problem. You're not allowed to be making
Yes.
from
Yes.
Yom Tov to
Agreed.
the next day.
Right. Correct.
So
And if you lived in a house that only had candle power lights in general, you'd have to light them on Erev Shabbos, which was Yontif. That's the ladlaka-shraga too. It's not only for Shabbos candles, but clearly that's one of them. That's correct. So that's but the bottom line is, here comes the issue about the Truma Tmeya. If you are going to light your Shabbos candles on the end of Yontif, on Friday afternoon, so when are you lighting? You're taking the Shemen Truma, which really is not a problem to light for Friday night. It's only a problem for Yontif, but you're lighting it on the
burning it
Yontif. You're burning it on Yontif, right?
Yontif.
So this is the second answer of the Gemara. But the second answer of the Gemara, which I said once again is a replacement for the first answer, it really looks like it's going to be an unusual kind of situation. So you have to say, what are we talking about? Let's go back to our Gemara. Once again, a page flipped over here. So Ella, who says Rav Chisda Marla, Shema Yata lo Hashem. I'm not worried about Shema Yata. Ella Hacha, the case is B'Yomtiv Shechalios B'Erev Shabbos Askina. We're talking about a case of Yontif that occurs on Erev Shabbos. What's the problem? Lefish Ein Sarfim Kodshim B'Yontif. Okay, when you can't burn Kodshim on Yontif. Okay, so now the Gemara says, well, there's a question you all should be asking, but you probably haven't thought of it yet. But let's just do a couple more lines to make sure they fill out the pieces here. V'yomer katani seifa ein madlikim b'shemen-esrei b'yom tov. But the Gemara says, look at the setup of the Mishnayos. The Mishnah on Daf Chav said you can light b'mem madlikim v'moy madlikim. It said ein madlikim b'shemen-esrei.
Right.
And then the Mishnah Chavdal said ein madlikim b'shemen-esrei b'yom tov. So, what's the first case? The second case is talking about Yontif. So the first case must mean it's not Yontif.
Right.
Now the answer is, of course, well, it's not really Yontif that you're not lighting it for Yontif candles. You're lighting it for Shabbos candles, but you're lighting it, but it's still Yontif. If you wanted to say this was a Yontif problem, then maybe you should have included both together. Maybe you should have said you shouldn't use this on Yontif, which is Erev Shabbos, and then the second mission should have said Ein Madlikim b'Yontif. So the fact the first one doesn't mention anything and everything else in the mission looks like it's talking about Shabbos means it's Shabbos, and this is really Yontif. Not that this is Shabbos, which is Erev Shabbos, which is Yontif before Shabbos. So that's the Gemara's question. So the Gemara says, Ella. I'm sorry. The Mishnah on Chavdal Ramad Bet says the Reisha. The Mishnah on Chav, the first part of the Mishnah, which is the first Mishnah of the Perek, Lav b'Yontav Askina. It's not really should not be dealing with Yontav. Should be dealing with the regular Shabbos. So the Gemara gives an answer that it uses many times. Amar Rav Chanina Misura gave the following answer. Ma tam kamar. Sometimes you see part A and part B. It's not you have part A means one thing and then part B means something else. Part A is like an introductory part to what part B is. So it's in other words, part A says something because this is really the reason which is part B. Or part B explains what part A is. Ma tam kamar. Ma tam ein madlikim b'shemen-esrei b'yom tov. Why is it that you can't burn on the second Mishnah? You can't light shemen-esrei on Yom Tov. Lefi she'ein sarfim b'yom tov, because you can't burn on Yom Tov, which means the first Mishnah of not using Shabbos means you can't use on Shabbos or Erev Yom Tov. The Rishonim, this is the question I expected people to say. So once again, it's a very small situation. How often does Erev Shabbos come out to be Yontif that you're going to do this? So the Rishonim say it's the same kind of thing. It's like a low plug, like if it's a gzeira that if you can't do it on Erev Shabbos of Yontif, you can't do it on Erev Shabbos, which is Yontif before Shabbos. You can't use shemen-esrei even on a regular Erev Shabbos, which is not Yontif, because we're afraid you might confuse the two together. So it's not a one-off kind of case that comes once in the blue moon that Friday is still Yontif, it's the end of Yontif. It deals with every Friday. So the bottom line, that becomes the reason. That is you have one or two choices. The first reason, which is the shemayata, or the second reason is because you can't burn kachim on Yontif, and this becomes an extension to because of Shabbos that comes on Friday night after the end of Yontif, and therefore you extend it to all Shabbos candles, or you go back to the first answer. But that's about Shabbos. The reason you can't light on Yontif is because that's the Gemara Daf Chav Dalam in bed. That's about kachim. Okay. So that the reason, in other words, the whole reason for why you can't use shemen-esrei is an extension of concern of not using burning shemen kachim or kachim on Yontif, and therefore it may come up on the Yontif, which is Erev Shabbos going to Shabbos. Okay, so it's like an extension. And wait, Tanya Kavasid Rav Chisda, and we have a support, even a brisa that supports Rav Chisda. With top of Chavdalad, Kolela Sharmu Madlikim b'Shabbos, Madlikim b'Hem b'Yom Tov. Here, this brisa actually ties the two together. All the ones that you can light on Shabbos, all the oils and wicks you can't use on Shabbos, you can use for Yontif, chutz shemen-esrei, except for shemen-esrei, which you can use for Friday night Shabbos and you can't use for Yontif. Why lefi shein sarfin kachim b'Yontif? Because of the reason is given, you can't burn kachim on Yontif. That is the reason why you can't use it for Shabbos. You can't use it for Shabbos because of a Shabbos when Yontif is really Friday, but you can't use it for any Shabbos because you extend the Gzeira all the way through. Okay? So that becomes the conclusion of that piece of Gemara. Now the question really is, and you'll see from the next piece of the next line, we're going to go back to talk about Chanukah. Right? See that in the fourth line. So we're going to go back to Chanukah, but Chanukah is going to take us all the way down to the next mission. So one of the questions that Rishonim is, how come they threw this here in the middle? And why, if we're going back to Chanukah, the topic of Chanukah we're going to talk about is Al Nisim. Do you say Al Nisim in the benching? Do you say Al Nisim in the tefillah? Where do you say it? How do you say it? And so forth. Why did they throw this piece in here about shemen-esrei? Looks like it's completely out of topic. Some of you say, well, Gemara is always out of topic, always topic to topic. So for Chanukah lights, which Chanukah lights? So the answer is, maybe Chanukah lights you can actually use the shemen-esrei for Chanukah lights. Right. Oh, so you might have thought that you could use Chanukah. It's not going to be Yontif and Shabbos, but you might have thought
Yontif for lighting the candles. It's Yontif.
No, but you might have thought for the Chanukiah, right, for the Chanukiah that you could use shemen-esrei for Friday night. Okay. And seeing that really, the concern about the Chanukah candles are, we're not really that concerned if they do go out, they don't go out, because we say hadlaka osa mitzvah. Once you lit it, we did the mitzvah. So if they do, it's not like Shabbos that I need the light that I'm going to twist the candle to read by. I can't. Right. So I could theoretically, I can use really any kind of oil for Chanukah candles. I use shemen zayis because it's been a muvchar, but I could use anything as long as when I light the candle, I have enough oil to burn for the half hour. If it goes out afterwards, what's the big deal? I did the mitzvah. If someone opened the window by mistake and it blew out. When I lit it, the window was closed. So therefore, you could have thought that perhaps I could use shemen-esrei to light for Chanukah candles on Friday night. Okay. So comes along this Gemara, at least the first answer of the Gemara, to say that shemayata, I'm concerned that I may twist and turn the wick of the Chanukah candles, not to read from, but to ensure that all the shemen-esrei will become burned. The same you had before. So the shemen-esrei issue is not a reading issue. All the other shemen-yates that we had in the Gemara about shemen-yate, I may need to use it. I want to read by it. I want to use you want to use the light. It doesn't apply to Chanukah, but what does apply to Chanukah, that applies to everything, is about burning completely the shemen-esrei tmeah, the shemen-esrei.
So we're now focusing again. We're going to focus on Shabbos as opposed to regular day at Chanukah. Because this is still truma that became, but then it's fine for Chanukah.
It's fine for Chanukah, but it's not going to be fine for Chanukah, which comes out on Friday, Shabbos of Chanukah.
For Chanukah you can use it. Like Chalamoid Yontif you can use it also.
For Chalamoid Yontif you can use it. Correct. Right. You can use it any day of the year except for Yontif. Right. And Shabbos is the extension from Yontif. And therefore you couldn't use it either for Chanukah on Chanukah Friday night.
Question is, what do you do? Like you burn the oil, but like let's say you're using a earthenware container as to hold the oil. so the oil sucks into the container. Does the container have to be destroyed? Like, you have to. What I'm asking is, do you have to burn every last drop, or you burn most of it? So I'm just wondering, because you're sort of stuck on. What do you do?
You have an earthenware Chanukah?
Let's say in those days.
So actually, one of the issues about a Chanukah is an earthenware candelabra becomes ma'os.
What does ma'os mean?
Becomes not nice because the oil does absorb in, and as a result, it becomes discolored. So therefore, these were the cheapest kinds of things they had, like the throwaway flashlights we have, with the earthenware nares that they made, which are very simple to make. Everybody had a pottery wheel; you could make it on your own.
Yeah.
But in terms of absorption of the oil seeping through and discoloring because of that,
for burning, you're stuck. You're
not burning, but it becomes something that's not a nice thing to use for a mitzvah. So they say, well, this is one of the things, kids, I don't know what they do in kids in school, but we used to make clay menorahs, right? Or, the clay that really hardened and you bring it home, but it really was a one of.
Because once you use it a second time as well.
Once you used it the first night for the first candle, we really couldn't use the others. But we were kids, it was a good project. But, So metal you can clean, even wood you can clean. If wood, I'm not sure if you want to put wood.
My question is, for burning, you're stuck with the absorption. Right. You have to burn it, destroy it.
Have you really succeeded?
You're asking, what you're really asking is a question that doesn't come up because the reality is you can't really clean it out.
You can't really burn everything.
You can't really burn everything, right?
That's the question.
So that would be a problem with shemoneh-esrei. That would be a problem with shemoneh-esrei if you put it and burnt it into an earthenware.
Yeah, but you're always stuck with a little bit on the bottom. Oil left. You're always stuck with a little, you have to clean. Yeah, whatever. Okay.
Okay. Yes.
If I'm not mistaken, in Eretz Yisrael, the only Yom Tov which can fall out on Friday is Rosh Hashanah.
In Eretz Yisrael, the only Yom Tov which can fall out on Friday is maybe.
So all this discussion about lighting on a Friday must be referring to.
Well, actually, so we want to find a case where Yom Tov falls on a Friday, not a Shabbos.
Before they had a calendar.
It's not important when Yom Tov comes on Shabbos. The scenario we have here is Yom Tov is on Friday.
Right. So it doesn't happen.
You told me that the only Yom Tov that can come out on a Shabbos is Rosh Hashanah.
No, I'm sorry. The only Yom Tov that come on a Friday is second day Rosh Hashanah.
All right.
I think. Right. So what we're talking about here is
second day Rosh Hashanah. Okay.
No, it's always.
So it's talking about Bava. Fine, it's talking about Bava.
Rosh Hashanah is always 2 days.
Yeah, that's what he's saying. That's why it's the only exception.
Okay.
We have frequently Pesach Thursday, Friday, right? Yeah.
So the calendar is not really set. So the calendar is not really set until the days of Rabbi Yehuda Hillel Sheni, Hillel Katan, which is really after the time of Rabba and Abaye.
So
you could argue, right?
Possible.
Correct. It's still possible. Anything's possible. Anything was possible. Right. The calendar was still in flux. It may have been more difficult to set it, but it still did not have a set time until about the year 425, if I'm not mistaken, the Common Era. Okay, so that would be the answer. But even if it's only Rosh Hashanah, it's an applicable discussion. What is clear is that it does not happen that Yom Tov is on Friday very frequently. Or it does happen, but it's not. But in comparison to every Shabbos, it's much less frequent.
Yes.
So
I think I saw some figures. 37% of the time, or something like that.
That is Friday.
That it's Thursday, Friday for Yom Tov.
Okay, could be. All right.
I'm not sure. I forget the number, but there is.
Okay. The question is, of course, we don't really have truma today in the sense of giving it to a Kohen and all that. We do set it aside. We do what we actually do is this. By the way, is important. That be one of the things that you do when you take trumas and maisros. If you've ever had to take trumas and maisros, and something that you should know is you do have to separate a part of the produce for truma. The truma min Torah has no shear. There is no requirement. It has to be a mashahu. So the Talmud talks about the fact that the people used to give 1/40th, 1/50th, 1/60th, right? Ayin tova, ayin ra, ayin beinonis, but those were really rabbinic kinds of extensions. Min Torah, you gave a drop to the Kohen of the produce, right? A kazayis, that was really yotze the mitzvah. So when you actually separate trumas and maisos and Eretz Yisrael, you do need to set aside some of it to be truma. The other parts you can actually still keep and say on this north side of the fruit is going to be Meiser Rishon, on the south side of the fruit is going to be Meiser Sheni, and so forth and so on. But the Truma, actually, you do need to set aside a piece. Now, what do you do with it?
I'm going to say, what do you do with it?
What do you? So the answer is you can't do anything with it because you're Tameh and I'm Tameh. And first of all, you don't know who the Kohen really is. Don't let no Kohen ever tell you they're really a Kohen because we don't know.
And they're Tameh anyway.
And they're Tameh, and the fruit is Tameh, and you're Tameh. So what are you going to do with this? The answer is you wrap it up in a plastic, and you put it into the garbage. In other words, you don't put it directly into the garbage because of bizayon, but you can't really simply have anyone eat it. So you actually take it off. But this is an extension of the fact that this is like truma. This is really truma tmeah. So truma tmeah. So what do we do with it? So we don't burn it. You could burn it, I suppose, but that's just not practical. You take a little bit off and you make sure that no one will have it. How do you make sure no one will have it? You put it into the garbage. And you don't want to put it directly in the garbage, so actually, so you wrap it up or double wrap it in a little plastic bag. It doesn't, so you keep it aside from it. So you're slowing down the process of it being broken down the garbage. Mm-hmm. That's what people do. Okay, I don't know I'm not sure if the Art Scroll Siddur even has the process of giving Trumas Maisos. You have a Siddur there, Mr. Richter. I don't know if it has it.
The bracha is there.
It has the bracha there?
Yeah,
for the Trumas Maestros? Trumas Maestros. Good. So then you can all look it up and find out how to do it.
It just has a bracha though.
What?
No, and this periodically does come up. This actually came up
pomegranates here. For Pesach.
The pomegranates for Pesach.
Not Pesach.
Right, we talked about it with pomegranates for Rosh Hashanah. Yeah. Which came in for Eretz Yisrael, and I'm not sure we ever talk about what the final reason what happened there was, is that a guy can't make a shaliach. A guy can't make a shaliach for how's it go? A guy, if I remember correctly, you can't be a shaliach for a guy to take off the trumas and so they had the mashgiach had to actually be there to take the trumas and maisos. One day the mashgiach came and found that the new delivery was already put out. So they put a sign that they have to take your own trumas and maisos. Those were the days. That was the day that we bought the pomegranates. Okay. So this right here. So here's the trumas and maisos. Once again, it's do they give you the directions here? Doesn't really tell you this. Brief introduction requirement. One puts a bit. Here we go. See commentary for brief introduction to this requirement. One puts a bit more than 1% of the food aside. Then, if the food is tevel, he recites the following blessing and declaration. If the food is demai, we don't know if it's tevel or not. The blessing is made of a declaration is recited. So what's the what you put aside? Then you put aside the piece that's going to be really set aside for the truma, and it doesn't tell you really what to do with it. Maybe in the footnote, in the small print, it tells you what to do. It maybe tells what to do there. But that's what you're supposed to do. Yeah. No, I don't see it. Okay, anyways.
Wasn't there a rabbinic rule about how much mice are supposed to give to them?
Yeah, so you say when you.
I'm
what
saying
page
the old
was this
days,
on?
when he really gave. Yeah.
224. So actually, when you say it, you'd actually do this, but you don't give it to the Levi because Levi you don't know what a Levi is.
Yeah, but
in the old days and the new days, you say whatever the portion set aside is more than 1% of everything here is hereby is declared to be the priestly tithe and is the northerly portion. That's the truma gedola. And the 1% remaining here, together with 9 equal portions of the upper side of the produce, is declared to be the first tithe, the Levite tithe. The 1 out of 100 that I've made on the first tithe is hereby declared to be the truma portion of the tithe, trumas maisus. 9 more equal portions, lower side of the produce, are declared to be the second tithe. But if it must be the tithe of the poor, it's the year for truma for maiser ani. Then the other 9 portions should be the tithe of the poor. So they've written it in very poor terminology. But the basic point of it is that you are setting aside the piece that's truma. Everything else you are saying is here. Now, what you're really saying is because Meiser does not have kedusha, it's not kachim. Meiser belongs to the Levi, or Meiser Sheni is right. Or Meiser Sheni you take to Yerushalayim, or Meiser Rani you give to the poor person. But that's not kachim. All that's kachim is truma. So the truma you have to set aside. Everything else, the Levi wants to have it. He has to prove to you he's a Levi. No Levi can prove he's a Levi. So that's why you keep it there, but you designate what it is.
You haven't seen my family tree, clearly.
Maybe your family tree is the first family tree that will go all the way back, without question. Okay. Good?
Yeah, well, yeah.
Not good.
It's good, but later.
It's going to be good later. Okay, there we go. So let's just so that's about, so I'm saying it does have an application back to Hanukkah. It's not really completely out of whack with everything going on. There is an application, though the Gemara does not make the connection, and it does throw it in here. No, you'll see in a moment, we're going to go back to Chanukah. The more logical place would have been on Chavdal Amud Bet before they talk about the Aliyah, about the Chaylev. Right, but they put it here in the middle. Anyways, we got a few minutes. Let's just start the next piece of Gemara. Iboilahu. This is Chavdal Amud Aleph, and it's the fourth line. Anything else about this topic? Let's go on. Iboilahu ma'alahaske shechanukah beberchas hamazon. So obvious question. This is, we dealt with everything about Chanukah, the holiday, the laws, lighting a menorah. What about the Alanisim? Do we mention Chanukah and berchas hamazon? Kevan de midrabanan hu lo mad karina. Looks like, by the way, the question is not really about davening in tefillah. Looks like the question is about Berchas Hamazon. Anyone want to tell me why you think it might be different, Berchas Hamazon? Because the question is only, do you include it in benching? They never ask the question about including it in davening. They take for an assumption that you're going to say something about Chanukah and Tefillah. Anyone want to suggest the difference between davening and between Berchas Hamazon?
There's no feast on Chanukah.
Okay, there's no feast, but you're eating. Right, so you're saying there's no obligation to eat. That's actually a good point. Yeah?
Yeah, no, and Hanukkah Shabbos, though,
Yes, you don't have to,
could be theoretically proportioned for Hanukkah because it's part of
the Shabbos Suda. So the Shabbos Suda, is there a Suda? Is a Suda for Shabbos, but it's a Suda for Shabbos, not Suda for Hanukkah.
Still, it's part of Hanukkah.
Okay, yeah, okay, maybe. So that has a Suda. Once again, I said it's not really. It's a Suda on Hanukkah. It's not a Hanukkah Suda. Okay. The real difference to be shown, we actually say, is the real value of Hanukkah. The prime value of Hanukkah is Pirsum Nisa. So where should Pirsum Nisa be done? When you're in Shul. So you understand, if you're davening together, where else would you daven? You're not going to daven at home. You must be davening in Shul. So if you're davening in Shul and you have Shliach Tzibor and you're davening together, makes sense that you say Al Nisim. That's the best way to do Pirsum Nisa. Yes, what about benching at home? So even if you have like a minyan at home, which is very rare, or you have 3 people from a Zuman, it's not really the same Pirsum Nisa as davening in Shul. So therefore, it makes sense to ask the question about whether you should include it in benching or not. That's what they say the reason is for this. Seeing that it's only a holiday midrabanan, you're not going to include it in the benching. And say because Pirsuminisa you should. I told you, see, even says Pirsuminisa at the beginning. So because Pirsuminisa, and surely and I guess you can argue and say this, every other Pirsuminisa that we have for Chanukah is at home. You light the menorah at home, and that's Pirsuminisa for everybody else. So you should bench at home. You should also say something for Chanukah. So Amar Rava, Rav Schora, Rav said Rav Schora, Amar Rav Huna, Eino Maskir. Okay, you don't have to say anything for Chanukah. Okay, you don't. Eino Maskir. In other words, when Rashi says Eino Tzarech Lahaskir. Okay, did I skip a line? Eino Maskir. The imbal lahaskin. If you decide to include it, maskir b'hodah, you include it in berchas hodah. What's berchas hodah? No delacha. Okay, we call it berchas haaretz because it talks about Eretz Yisrael, and it was written supposedly when Yeshua entered Eretz Yisrael. Moshe writes the first chapter of the first bracha of berchas hamazon. Yeshua writes the second one when they come into the land. So just a couple more lines here. Rav Huna bar Yehuda ikla levei Rava. So Rav Huna bar Yehuda came to the house of Rava. Savalat kuroi b'bonei Yerushalayim. He thought to include it in Bonei Yerushalayim. Why would you put it in Bonei Yerushalayim? Why would you put?
It's the dedication of the Beis HaMikdash.
Right, dedication, it makes all sense. You try to put the bracha in where it makes a whole lot of sense. So Shahodah, no delachai, giving praise. So we put in. That's where we ended up. It ends up. But maybe we should go into Bonei Yerushalayim with Nei Yerushalayim Akoshim Heva Meinu. That's what's talking about building Yerushalayim. That's what the Makamim did. So Amalahu Rav Sheishes Kitfila. You do it like you insert it in davening. Matfila b'hodah av berchas hamazon hodah. In the same way that in davening you put it in the bracha of hodah of after ritzei. So you'll put it in the bracha of hodah in berchas hamazon. The bracha of hodah is the bracha of modim. Right. So now the bracha of modim plays a different role than the second bracha of the berchas hamazon. Bracha of modim is the end of the shemoneh-esrei. It's not like the same kind of structure, but nonetheless, if one is hodah, we're giving praise, and this hodah as well. Okay. So that is the introduction. The Gemara is going to talk about it more. I think maybe we'll just break it at this point. There's a 2 dots. We can find it next time, and we'll go through the rest of the bracha about Chanukah, about Rosh Chodesh. What happens if you it's Rosh Chodesh? We're going to talk a little bit about saying Aneinu. When do you say Aneinu on the Tainus? Mincha. Why don't you say it at Shachris?
It says so on the Siddur.
Everyone's fasting in Shachris?
Nobody's eaten yet.
Well, I got a better question.
Haven't come to mealtime.
So you're not hungry.
No, but you haven't fasted.
So that's a good reason, yes, to say it.
Fast.
So you have to come back and see next time. But the crowd, just the teaser question I'll just leave you with: if you're not supposed to say Aneinu at Shachris, how come the Chazan does say it at Shachris? Okay, to be continued. Stay tuned.
So that's for all the minor fasts. We don't say Aneinu on Shabbos, except for
correct.
Why would we make it?
Except for no fast, we say it at Shachris. We'll see why, and we'll see that it may have been Minhagim. Correct. There may have been Minhagim yes to say it in Shachris.
I have a question.